2,000 years, the message has been how important it is to make the most of the opportunities and the talents that we've been given. So what can you do, and why should you try? There's a widespread condition I call the curse of talent. It's when you have high intelligence and natural ability that allows you to get good results without trying. I'm sure it's a condition that affects many people in this room. And people who are affected by it say, why should I make the effort when I can get good results without trying? Well, only the other day I was reading an interview by Danny Alexander, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury. And he said when he was at Oxford, he did very little work until the last minute, and then he did only just enough to get his degree. Now that resonated with me because that's exactly how I was when I was a student. I never did any work. I always got good results without trying. So in frustration, my final year class teacher wrote in a report to my mother, this boy could be first if he only did some work. So why didn't I try? I told myself that I could always be in the top 5 without doing any work. Why should I work, make the effort just to gain a few places? But secretly, it was something else. You see, the curse of talent is when you're afraid to put your talent on the line in case you fail. And in case you discover that you're not as good as you thought you were. Now, my best natural talent is writing, but it took me many years before I committed to myself to seeking a career in writing. And even longer before I wrote my first book. And I brought it along just to show it because I'm very proud of that book. And I've now written 7 others. And so, why did it take me so long? Well, in my late 20s, the editor of the Evening Standard saw some promotional pieces I'd written in the paper, and he invited me to become one of his feature writers. I turned him down. I'd always wanted to be a journalist, and here was a golden opportunity presented to me on a plate, and I let it pass. Why? Because secretly I was afraid that others might not think that I was as good a writer as I thought I was. So if you've got a talent, don't leave it on the back burner as a fallback option. Put it to the test. Use it to make yourself the best that you can possibly be. You've got to do that. You've got to try. When I was a teenager, I used to run a bit. I was pretty good, but not exceptional. But when I was at university in Calcutta, I decided to enter my college's sports day. Now, I wasn't doing any regular running, but I put my name down for the mile and the half mile on the same day, which just shows how little I knew. I thought I would just turn up and give it my best shot. The mindset of the dilettante. Now, the standard in Calcutta in those days was not high. And in fact, hardly anyone liked running the half mile, so the record was pretty poor. But a couple of days before sports day, I was feeling out of sorts, and I was considering pulling out. And then I thought, I'll just go for a run in the cool of the early evening and see what sort of form I'm in. So I put on my plimsolls. We didn't have trainers in those days. Put on my plimsolls, borrowed a stopwatch, and went down to the track. It was a grass track. And the markings were already in place. Without even a warm-up, I clicked the stopwatch and started running. To my surprise, I felt terrific, and I leaned into the bends, and I drove harder and harder, and I sprinted up the final straight, ignoring the lactic acid that was building up in my legs, and I crossed the finishing line, and I clicked the stopwatch, and I bent over to catch my breath. And when I looked at the clock, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had just smashed the state record. I had just run the first 2-minute half mile in the state of Bengal, in Plimsolls, on grass, with no training. But no one knew. And no one would ever know. Because on sports day, I was so stiff I could hardly run, and I came a distant last. It was a humbling experience. Even though at the prize-giving ceremony at the end, the governor of the state of Bengal commended me as an example of sporting endeavor because I had not quit. Even better, the two beautiful Broughton sisters whom everyone fancied came over and let me know I was now on their radar. Now, fast forward 24 years. Age 42, I entered a race which I didn't win, but which gave me the trophy I cherish more than any of the other trophies I've won for public speaking and anything else. I entered the London Marathon for the first time. And this is the medal they gave me. Now, this time I did some training, but for some reason I couldn't get fully fit. And later I was to find out why. The first few miles were exhilarating. And as I crossed Tower Bridge, I was lifted by my elder brother and his family, the cheering, and I was feeling great. 6 miles further on, I hit the wall. Tank was empty. Nothing left. And I had 8 miles still to run. By the time I got on the embankment, my right leg had seized up and I was limping along. And the final mile took me 11 minutes to cover. And every step was excruciating. And as I crossed the finishing line, I thought, in 3 hours 45, I thought I was going to die. Literally. This medal represents the one occasion when I gave it absolutely everything. Nothing left. I couldn't have done anything better on the day. That's why this matters. Now, I could have actually died. I didn't know it at the time, but I had blocked arteries, which later resulted in a double heart bypass, with one major artery 95% blocked and another one 70% blocked. And when the cardiologist said, you're going to need a heart transplant, and I said, when? He said, next week and don't fly. And I said, is there some alternative? He said, yes, a massive disabling heart attack. I said, I will take the surgery.